Today is January the 30th, 2019. I just read a really nice comment from a gentleman about a posting I made just over 5 years ago in January about my test equipment. I know that when I watch YouTube videos, I like to see what other people have. So this is a 5-year update. Some of it is exactly the same. Some of it I don't think has even moved off of this place that it was in 5 years ago. That would start with this equipment right here. I'll explain what it is. This is called HP 8903 audio analyzer. Marvelous device if you can get one for any kind of reasonable price, and it works great. You won't regret it. You will love this thing. You can adjust the frequency here. You hit frequency, and then amplitude. It'll measure signal to noise ratio. It'll just measure THD. It's just an excellent device. Down here is a mainframe. This is called a TM5000 mainframe. These are called TM500 modules. You can put the TM500 modules in a TM5000 mainframe. The only one that it requires the actual 5000 module mainframe, darn light, is this fellow right here. A beautiful device, voltmeter. This is called a DM5010. This is called an AA501 for audio analyzer. It does THD. I use this thing all the time. I get the same readings up here. As you can see, it's just looking at the noise right now on the line, and it's measuring about the same thing. 0.0263, 0.052, that's the same thing for all practical purposes. It's just measuring the noise out of this breakout box here. These are two SG505 oscillators. They are really high end. They go from 10 Hertz to 100 kilohertz with as little as 8 parts per million. That's 0.0008% THD. They are marvelous little devices. This is an RF device. It's an RF power meter. It measures power down in the milli and micro watt range. It has a head right here. These things can be seen on eBay pretty easily, but oftentimes you don't get the head with it. And if you don't get a head, and a good head, well, then the darn thing's worthless. So you got to be very careful with this right here. You can't overload it. It's only rated at milliwatts. But it is a marvelous device used in conjunction with signal generators like this. This one goes from 9 kilohertz up to 3.2 gigahertz. I use that in my RF. I don't use it for audio. Spectrum analyzer. This guy goes up to 12.8 gigahertz. I used to do a lot of work and have a lot of fun with 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, but haven't done that in a while. A frequency meter, direct readout, so I don't have to move the decimal point around. It's just absolute direct readout. Of course, there's nothing into it now. Here is a really nice little Tektronix meter. It's called a DM4020. Let me show you what you can do with it. Besides measuring AC and DC and all that stuff, you go right here to this, and then you set the you set the impedance range with this knob or button. Set it to 8, and then press and hold range till it clicks. Then you would actually go back to make sure it's on AC. It is, and then you start hitting this little knob right here, and see there you're measuring dB gain. So you can measure your amplifier, your audio amplifiers without negative feedback, and then with negative feedback, and get the number right there. You don't have to fool with it. Right there's power. This is power output across 8 ohms because we set it with 8 ohms over here. You can change it to whatever you want. Let's see what all we can change it to. There's 8, 16, and 2. Okay, that's all you get. 2, 4, 8, and 16 ohms. But most of the time I measure everything on 8. Press and hold. There you go. I would never trade off all of my analog oscilloscopes. This is a 350 megahertz scope. Absolutely beautiful. Works perfectly. It's got these two channels are controlled by the vertical gain is controlled by these two knobs. These two right here are just 5-volt channels for digital work, so they're more limited. I hardly ever use them. Here's some more Tektronix equipment down here. It has 3 separate oscillators in it. This is an audio oscillator. It goes down to about 10 hertz, and so I can go from 10 hertz up to whatever its range is. This one overlaps it, and then this one overlaps it, and it goes up just a little bit above 1 gigahertz. So I've got a little setup here that'll give me 10 hertz to past a gigahertz, and it works really good. It doesn't have the specifications, the ultra low THD like these little SG505s do, but these are getting to be pretty hard to come by, I think, and quite expensive. Down here I have a power supply made by Keithley. I think Keithley was bought out by Tektronix some time ago, where you can dial in the voltage if you want. You can dial in, like here, 132.21 volts. And you know what? It's really darn close. It's as close as any of your meters will probably read it. And then below that is just a huge power supply. It does about 40 amps that I use if I'm powering up some 12-volt device in here. I buy these little cheap meters off of eBay and glue them on, put them on. I like the analog meters too, but sometimes little digital ones are kind of nice. They also let you know that it's on because they blink. Speaking of letting you know it's on, I use these things right here too. Everything on my bench goes through this isolation transformer right here. That's a 2.4 kVA isolation transformer, so it's pretty hefty. But I also like to use these because it reminds me that there's power there. These little neon lights in there, they don't do anything. They're just a little piece of about 6-inch wire, but that's why I put them in there. I make sure that all my lights work because it could save my life. I put these signs up here like this right here. I put those up there for me, to remind me not to stick my finger in there because it'll kill you. Okay, here's a fancy dandy little scope. It's a Gigahertz scope. All 4 channels will do a gigahertz. It's digital. I think I paid about $500 for it. I buy it from a seller on eBay called Chips XS, CHIPXS. It's actually Tektronix out of Portland, Oregon. They sell their used equipment. Beautiful stuff. This was a $35,000 scope in its day. Here's another voltmeter by HP that you can get off of eBay for darn near nothing. Seems like people don't want these things anymore. I don't know why. These are some standards I use for my inductance measurements and what have you. This is another one of those modules that plugs into the TM5000 series over there that I use rarely, and an attenuator, 600 ohm attenuator. What do I have up here? Oh yeah, this is one of those little Rig Experts. Really nice device for RF and ham radio. Lay it back up there. Some chokes. That's a 2500 Henry choke. This is a real classic right here. The HP 3580A Spectrum Analyzer. Beautiful device. Probably about 40 years old. I personally don't recommend buying them because one of these days it's going to have a heart attack. Power supply is going to go out and it'll probably never work again. I might could repair a power supply, but anything other than that, probably not. It is replaced by this device right here. This particular software is called Spectra Plus. There's another one out there called ARTA, A-R-T-A. ARTA is free. The Spectra Plus is not. Just an amazing, you can see I've got it configured to go down to 6 hertz. See this 60 hertz right there? There's 120, 180, so you can see the harmonics of your power supply, and you can trim your hum pot. Now if you're a kilohertz out here, then you'll see all of the 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll see all of you'll see the harmonic profile. It for all practical purposes quits at about 20 kilohertz. I don't know what that spike is out there, but that is software, and it is driven by this little cable right here that comes from this device right here. These things come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Focusrite, it's a USB sound card. I like this one better than the others because this one is a 1-channel and it's smaller. I have several others that they all seem to work pretty much the same. I don't think one's really any better than the other. It uses XLR, cables here. That's the input, and then of course the output is on this USB cable. That's that blue cable that's going over to the USB port over here. I use a second PC. Sometimes I wish I'd have put everything on one PC, but I was afraid that the PC was going to kick the bucket and then I would lose everything. And what I have on this one that is so valuable are the Pete Millett programs that interface right here. These things right here interface and give me the accuracy of this device right here, this HP 8903A audio analyzer. It's got a device on the back, they call it HPIB or GPIB, Hewlett Packard Interface Bus, GPIB General Purpose Interface Bus. They mean exactly the same thing. Anyway, that device on the back of this has a USB cable coming out, and it comes over to right here. This is quite a trick to configure, but it's worth the trouble. It's a marvelous device, a marvelous measuring device. Okay, up here just some amplifiers that I build. I like to build things, obviously. Anybody who watches my videos knows. You've probably seen this one lately. I love this thing. Right now I'm working with a young lady out of Kentucky, and I have a boatload of these fantastic little UTC transformers. Up here at the top, I'll just show you like that. I can't actually see it myself. That's a jig that I built to measure inductance. Does a marvelous job. I have some videos on it. I'd like to make more videos on it, but I don't think anybody is that terribly interested in it. Right there's a plug, a device that I can measure the plate and the screen current of 4 tubes at a time. You just unplug those cables from the sockets they're plugged in and plug them into the amplifier where the tubes would normally go, and plug the tubes into this device. Now these are the kinds of things that I figure people are interested in. Oh yeah, here's a big dummy load that will dissipate a kilowatt. It does have a little bit of inductance in it, but it is insignificant at a kilohertz and below. At 20 kilohertz it might be somewhat significant. So, but just for measuring power, it's great. See, I got 16 right there written on it. That's that slider right there. You move over to 16, or I move it right over there to 8. And I have that. That is that thing will dissipate a lot of power. Okay, let's see what else here. Here's my stereo stuff. I got a little Macintosh tuner preamp out here. That's what I drive my stereo with, and I use these little Paradigm. I think they're called Focus speakers. Got 2 of them. Actually, I run a mono though. These are just some meters that I use whenever and whatever. There's for the bird watt meter stuff. This is a digital readout for the watt meter, and then just another random meter. Over here I have my lab coat, my wires hanging. I have lots of chemicals. Oh my goodness, whatever. Down here's where I store my resistors. Probably a little dark. I'm trying to get this stuff out of the way. There we go. I have my resistors pretty organized. That's pretty much what that is. Capacitors down here at this end. Electrolytic type stuff here. The smaller ones. Fuses, etc. So that's what I have to be very organized since my little shop is so tiny. Here I have nuts and bolts and more test equipment. There's a sweep generator on the top there. That one beneath it is a calibration jig made by Tektronix. This device right there, I have 2 of those. That's a LC meter made by Tektronix. Measures up to 300 picofarads or 300 microhenries. That's a higher frequency digital display up there, and a pulse generator. I've used that pulse generator, this guy right there. I've used him when I was doing work with TDRs and trying to determine the velocity factor and the length of coax cables. This device up here, I should maybe zoom in on it a little bit so I don't have to point. So that's just a antenna tuner. I've got a bigger one that I actually use. It has a roller inductor and some variable capacitors. These little devices right here are so nice. If you use a grid dip meter, these B&W ones are hot. I really recommend them. You can find them on eBay, but oftentimes they don't have the coils. You got to have that coil set or it's worthless. Decade boxes. This is these are small ohm resistors. It goes down to decimal point resistors, so I'm dialing like 6.44 ohms. Is that what that one is? Compensated decade resistor? Yeah. A similar one over there. The second one, the third one goes up into the mega ohms. That's a analog milliohm meter, and then this device right there is actually used as a calibration jig for this device right up here. Right down here is my impedance measuring section of my shop. I use this old HP signal generator. I love GR equipment. This is a ZY bridge, as you can see. It measures impedance and admittance. This is the dip meter I use for it. I just turn it on, and then I have the wires hanging here somewhere. I think it's these right here, or some of them, wherever I can clip across the inductor and I can start measuring impedances. They're just long enough to reach over here to my workbench. This is a beautiful device right here, this precision capacitor. I always thought I'd use that in RF, and that would be about it. But I've used that in audio to determine the feedback capacitor across the feedback resistor a number of times. Works really, really good. Really pleased with that. Here's some homebrew devices I've built and have used. RX bridges. Works real well. Up to about 20 megahertz. Above that, the stray R and C and all that stuff in there gets a little weird, and you can't, it doesn't work as accurate up there. You know, just junk that you gotta have to live. This is part of the audio measuring devices. These are two big 300 watt 1% non-inductive resistors. These are the wires that go out to the left and to the right channels. Now switch left and right here. This left and right switches this wire right here, which feeds this box right here. Actually, it's hooked up at the moment. It's this wire right here. I take it off if I'm not using it. If I want to feed this breakout box, which feeds all the equipment at once, so I can look at all these parameters at one time without having to go from one to the other. In the audio range, it's not going to work very well in the RF range. Here's some devices that I bet some of you guys have. This is called a kilowatt. It measures the voltage, the current, the watts, the volt amps, which is the apparent power, the frequency. It gives you a power factor number. Really nice little device. Actually, there's a second one right there. That says right there that my whole setup of equipment I've just been showing you is drawing 881 watts at 8.45 amps. The voltage is 118 volts. Frequency, it always says 59.9. I don't know why it doesn't say 60. And here's the power factor, 0.87. Gives you just about everything. Kilowatt. You might want one of those. I love my analog meters. I have them hanging here for my convenience, so I can just drop the leads down. I do the same thing with a high-end digital meter. I love these little Tektronix. This is a DMM 850. You get them for pretty reasonable prices. Of course, you gotta have lots of nut drivers and all that stuff. Down here, I have parts. These are mostly N connectors and PL259, SO239 type of stuff. Just more connectors and parts and whatever. Over here in this cabinet, I've got just about everything. They're one of those things you're full of something. Resistors, tubes, capacitors, test equipment. As you can see, hardware, crimp terminals, all the way down to the bottom. I got this. This is apparently some World War II thing. Got some books up here at the top. The things that I use the most often. Something that I'm into all the time in my little roll around pull out drawer here with all my tools in it. I love these little these really sharp little tools right here. I don't let anybody into my shop unless I'm here, because I don't want them to grab this thing up and try to cut a nail into with it. Let me stop here just for a second and restart, or my or it's probably going to time out on me. Okay, let's pick up again. More tools, mostly audio and all these connectors you gotta have. Gotta have a lot of parts. And then store, I don't even know what's down there. Some stuff I just got in today is a really nice set of Sophia Electric, a brand new pair, never even been opened, of 300Bs. I'm going to be using them in an amplifier soon. Here's an LS61 transformer. Yep. Here's some 5881s. Those are ones I used in that UTC W20 just the other day. I'll put them back in here to keep them safe. I use a lot of old stuff. Look at this thing. US Navy. USN. 5U4GB. Its date, it says 6438. I guess that means it was made in about 1964. But they still work. And they work great. Oh yeah, a little LCR meter. Boy, this is dandy. Measures L and C and gives you the dissipation factor of capacitors, gives you the ESR, if that's what you want to call it, or RS, the series resistance of the inductors. Meters of every sort. I have drawers of that stuff up in one of the attics, and coils. This is for my ham radio RF stuff. This is unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know if I'm fortunate or cursed sometimes, but I have a lot more here and there in the basement and in the attics, and in two other, one is another workshop. I've actually turned another place into a workshop, and then I have a big storage shop. Problem with the storage buildings out here, they're metal, and they'll just freeze your butt off in the wintertime, and in the summertime they're about 150 degrees. There's my big machete up there in case somebody breaks in. Maybe I'll have a little bit of a time to, at least I could keep them at a distance of a couple of feet from me, huh? I'm not a prepper, but I like to be prepared. So here's another drawer of equipment. I got all this stuff that was, you know, it's been mentioned. See, I worked as a contractor for NASA and White Sands Missile Range, and then Homeland Security for 40 years. And when contracts end, a lot of times there's nothing new or illegal about any of this. They just get rid of their equipment. Just take it. Just get it out of here. We don't want to see it again. We don't want to inventory it. And so you get this stuff for darn near nothing, if not nothing. More meters. I love these these Tektronix meters, and Fluke. Fluke is really nice stuff too, of course. And on down, lots of parts. That's how I keep my parts organized. And it just goes on and on. Nuts and bolts and all that kind of stuff. I buy these things locally, usually. Well, I'm not to the drawer yet. These, all these little separated nuts and bolts and parts. You got to have all that if you want to build something. You can't be ordering, you know, a pack of 632 screws. I keep a fire extinguisher. Hope I don't ever need it. But that's it out here in the workshop. I don't think I can belabor this anymore. I do have tube testers down here. This is a GR instrument, an impedance bridge. This is a tube tester, and there's another one down here. I showed this one a long time ago. Have some other instruments right here for when I want to install a Cat 5 cable, and I have to check it out. This is a little device right here. I can't open it with one hand, but it's got it's a little USB device that you plug in, and it gives you just unbelievable parameters, measurements of your Wi-Fi, of your 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi devices around. Of course, everything's going to 5 gigahertz now, so there you go. I do have a 5 gigahertz link over to my other shop and to my mother-in-law's house. So I think that's it for the moment. I'll think about this, and if I can think of anything else interesting. And like I say, the things to me that I like to see is you guys set up whatever you use. This little breakout box is coming really handy, and I know there's been a number of discussions about it, and other people have built similar devices. This one is a variable one. I do have 2 attenuated ports over here, and they are compensated, just like an oscilloscope probe. You have to do that. This is not compensated, so you wouldn't actually want to take the output of this and put it into a spectrum analyzer. I think this one right here, this is the way I code them. See, I got a blue and a yellow. That way I can find the other end of it, wherever the blue and the yellow is. I actually don't know where it is. It's somewhere up here. Blue and yellow right here. Yeah. So that is feeding this little USB device. That's where I can find from one end to the other without having to pull the stuff off. I have Kelvin probes, some really nice ones. If you want to measure really accurately low value resistors, you need Kelvin probes. This Tektronix does 4-wire, wherever it says it. Anyway, it does. You should press ohms. It says 2-hour 4-wire. That says 4-wire. And you have to use all 4 of them in there. And what it does is it puts a voltage out to the tips of the probes, and then it measures it so that you're not measuring the resistance of the wire. This little HP up here does the same thing. It's got 4-wire Kelvin probe type connections into it too. You do want that if you want to measure low resistance. So I hope this helps. Hope you enjoy it. I wish all of you would make videos and post your stuff, because I bet I'd get some ideas that I really like from you guys. There's an old frequency meter right there that you got to use a detector with. You put RF into it and you use the detector, and at resonance the detector dips. And it's not much of a dip. It's a beautiful, fantastic device, but it's a pain to use. And just some attenuators and another little RF meter. And I trust this guy right here. I'll watch this because this is a temperature above all of this equipment. And once I see this thing getting up to 80 or 85, I know I need to turn on the air conditioner right over there, or open the door, or shut some equipment off or something so I don't burn up my equipment. I put this in, I've got this set right here for like about 88 degrees. If this device right here, which is the sensing device, gets higher than 88 degrees, it shuts off the entire room. That's to keep from burning my equipment up, because years ago my wife came out here and I had everything on, and I guess I did not have the air conditioner on, and or maybe I did. I guess she turned the air conditioner off is what she did to save electricity, and that was the death of one of my scopes. It got so hot in here, because even in the coldest of days in El Paso, all this equipment right here will heat the place up really nice. That's a pretty expensive heating system, isn't it? But anyway, there again, once again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy, and post your videos and show us all of the wonderful things that you see and have and measure. I would definitely like to see it. Stay safe. I thought this video deserved one more segment to it for both the audio and the ham radio operator. Here's a little stash of amplifiers I have. There's a little Mac amp and a power supply for, I think that was for that 813 amplifier built. There's a little Dynaco Fisher 70A. This is one I built some time ago, back in actually 1977. It's a Macintosh channel out of an MA230. Ordered this transformer directly from them. I think it was like 35 bucks back then. So we got the original receipt, and there's an amplifier I've shown a few times not too long ago. It's got the 6B4Gs in it. So that's my little stash of amplifiers. I also like chemistry. So here's my chemistry stuff, so I can measure things. I also do reloading, so I got little reloading scales. I know it's a little bit dark in here. Over here, got some unused equipment. There's a big Mac 2205, I believe it is, 200 watts per channel. Works great. This is a 1947 Collins Excitacaller 310B1, and some other stuff. I bought this one brand new. This is a C26. I bought this brand new when I moved to El Paso in 1976. But what I actually want to show you, have another little workbench down here, or work cart. Let's turn on a little bit of light. Sorry, I should have already had that on. Where I keep, you know, the types of things you gotta have to keep a ham radio station running. And this is my my radio room, so to speak. This is a 3400Z amplifier that I have posted in some really detailed videos on. I have another oscilloscope down here that I use. This is the Collins S-Line stuff. I'm a boat anchor guy. Strictly boat anchor. Collins R390. I've made some videos on it. I got it at an estate sale for 20 bucks. Put a lot into it. Love it. Watt meters and all that kind of stuff. Big homemade antenna tuner down there with vacuum capacitors on one side here. Big roller inductor right here in the middle. This is by 833 amp that I use most of the time. This is my most modern piece of equipment. It's probably 20 years old. Little ICOM IC736. That's an old Hammerlin speaker you might recognize from that pattern on the front. The speaker up there is the one I use on the R390. But this is definitely a boat anchor ham radio station, but I have a lot of fun with it. Here's the old Collins 30K1 cabinet. I was just on the air a little bit earlier with the big 31000Z in it. That thing lights up nicely and it's real pretty. When I turn it on though and try to make videos with this camera, as I've been told by some of you guys that view my videos, apparently the infrared overloads the camera and it just is way too bright. Voltmeter. Both of my amplifiers are here. I run 3500 volts on both of them. This one and this one. So let's go back to this one. This is an old style Simpson voltmeter. These are the new style down here that you can buy right off of eBay. They light up and everything. This adjustment right here is for the bias voltage. I know it's a little dark. MV rectifiers back there. I'll energize it. How about that? It'll deliver 750 watts to the antenna. This is a little fancy dandy microphone I just bought. I think that's about the prettiest thing I've ever seen. If you've got really good contact, you know, you've got a really good signal strength between yourself and the person you're talking to, these types of microphones with good fidelity are really nice. If the QRM is really bad, you need a microphone like this. This is the D104. I've had this D104 since 1963. It was bought for me because I was a kid. I have changed the head a few times. This is the 32S1 transmitter. There we go. This is a 30L1 linear, runs 4 811s. I don't use it very much, although it's a fine little amplifier. And here's a receiver, 75S3. I do use it. I do use this receiver, and I do use this. So the two radios that I actually have microphones hooked to are this ICOM and the 32S1. Got another oscilloscope down here. You can use this thing as a spectrum analyzer and an oscilloscope. It's got the spectrum analyzer module in it. So you can actually use it as a mixed domain instrument. And I don't know where my kitty cat is, but she sleeps right there and protects me. My RTL SDR software is not running right now. It's obviously hung up. This is the PC it runs on. And here's what I use for my RTL SDR spectrum analyzer. What do we call that? I can't think of the word we call it now. I had to put this little device in to short the coax when I'm transmitting, so as not to overload it. And this is the screen I use most of the time, right over here. And you know, it's kind of nice to be able to see who all's out there and what's going on, but it isn't necessary. And a little rotor. Oh yeah, by the way, when you use these things are called condenser microphones. And they require what's called phantom power. So you have to have a power supply with it. You have to have something like this. It doesn't have to be this very one, of course, but it's something that actually provides power to the microphone. Now, if I wired this thing in directly, and I was careful and paid attention, I can wire it directly into the ICOM, because the ICOM provides the so-called phantom power for it. But I thought I'd better show the upgrade. I don't know if any of this has been much upgraded or not in the last 5 years. I don't change much. This is the kind of stuff I wanted as a kid. I started with my general ticket at 13, And this is the equipment I wanted, all of the Collins stuff. Again, I put that sign up there for me. Death on contact. Gotta be careful. Don't come down here after a few beers and get stupid, or I'll end up with all of my stuff being sold at the scrapyard.